Sanibonani nonke. Mangiqale ngokubonga uProfessor and the head of department, Corinne Sandwith, for pioneering the journey that is ending with me standing on this podium. Corinne, la ngivela khona sithi ukwanda kwaliwa umthakathi. There was a team behind you and the protocols that needed to be followed. So I'd like to thank you, team, and everyone who voted yes. This is a great honor. I do not take it for granted. And congratulations to everyone who's graduating here today. My sister Zed and my daughter Nala are in the room. Thank you, family, for being here with me. I was told I have 7 minutes for this acceptance speech, so I will not give the conventional speech. Instead, I will share just 10 points that also count as stories, so that you can just connect the dots and make sense for yourself of this non-speech, and then ask your own questions. The first 5 points I'd like to share are on Khulukazi Soldati. 1, Khulukazi Soldati was a lecturer in the English department. When the book, the short story in South Africa, Contemporary Trends and Perspectives, when the book came out, the editors, Rebecca Fawcett and Corinne Sandwith, honored Khulukazi Soldati with the following words. Expanding on our earlier special journal issue published in the Journal for Commonwealth Literature, this edited volume is an attempt to capture the renewed vibrancy of short story writing in South Africa. It is dedicated to our co-auditor of the journal issue, our beloved friend and colleague, Khulukazi Soldati Kahimbara. Khulukazi passed away in 2019 after a long struggle with cancer. 2, Khulukazi Soldati was the first person to invite me to UP. This was in 2013, when the book I had edited with Karen Martin titled Queer Africa, New and Collected Fiction came out. I had great fun engaging with students on the book. After that, Khulukazi made sure that my visits to this university became an annual event. 3, when I asked Rebecca Fawcett about her memory of a colleague, Khulukazi Soldati, she answered, laughter. We used to spend so much time laughing together as we talked. Even when we bumped into each other in the corridors, laughter was our greeting. 4, when Michael Neocosmos, Khulukazi's partner, spoke soon after her passing, he captured her personality in the following way. Khulukazi lived her life in such a way that she insisted that we must look beyond differences in race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicities, nationalities, and other identities in order to stress what was common to humans. Her insistence on sharing her life and love with a white man, her commitment to equality and rights for all LGBTQI people, her refusal to bow to a racist culture in her life and at her workplace were all indications of this. 5, I do not know how to think of the University of Pretoria without thinking of Khulukazi Soldati. Next, I'd like to honor two women. The first is Cheryl Dilleray. In 2009, Cheryl Dilleray became the first Black person and the first woman to get the Vice Chancellor job in this university's history of 101 years. I remember being very excited when I heard this news on radio because I had met Cheryl in the 1990s within our activist circles. And I remembered I had attended a conference with her in Uganda. The second woman is Sandy Africa. She might be in the room, I don't know. I met Sandy for the first time in 1983 at her university in Durban. I had come from Ongoye University, which is also known as the University of Zululand. Sandy made a mark on me during one of these meetings that we called in those days consciousness-raising workshops. It was during this workshop that Sandy made herself unforgettable to me when she explained the difference between sex and gender. Now, of course, I knew the difference, but it was in the way that she explained it that made a mark on me. Nobody had explained it like that before. I remember sitting there and thinking, oh, I love your brain, Sandy. So all this to say, my earlier connection to the University of Pretoria was through these three Black women who graced the corridors of this university while leaving their own individual marks. Khulukazi Soldati, Cheryl Dilleray, and Sandy Africa. The next 2 points are on the city of Pretoria, and the second is on the Pretoria Central Prison, as it was called then. And I'm deliberate by sticking to those old names, and I think you will understand why. So let me start by stating the obvious. The University of Pretoria lives in the city of Pretoria. The city of Pretoria that, for those of us who lived under apartheid, is unforgettable because this city was the headquarters of the oppression of Black people. This city was the headquarters of the engineering of racism. Even the struggle songs that mention Ipitoli tell the story. The monumental Women's March that took place on the 9th of August, 1956, culminated in the city of Pretoria. An estimated 20,000 women from all over South Africa landed at the Pretoria's Union buildings as they were protesting against the past laws. Can you imagine that? 20,000 people. And then let me move on to number 9. The city of Pretoria is also a home of what used to be called the Pretoria Central Prison. The prison was built in 1902, just 6 years before this university started. This prison was known to those of us who grew up under apartheid as a place where Black people came to die, meaning they were killed. When I hear the word capital punishment, death does not come to my mind immediately. I don't know about you. Maybe it does to people whose mother tongue is English. It was in this Pretoria Central Prison where Solomon Kalushi Mahlangu was hanged on the 6th of April, 1979. Now, how about this fun fact? Solomon Mahlangu was born exactly 1 year before I was born, on the 10th of July in 1956. I was born on the 10th of July 1957. But here's the point. What kind of regime kills a 23-year-old? Most of us will know that on the 12th of September 1977, Steve Bantu Biko died while lying on a mat in a Pretoria prison hospital. He was 30. Who knows the names and the numbers of other black people who were killed as punishment for their activism against the apartheid government? What exactly had they done that they deserved capital punishment, meaning they deserved to be murdered, to be killed, to be exterminated through a method of hanging? 10. I will end with a personal story about my very first connection to the city called Pretoria. This is a story about my planned visit to this very Pretoria Central Prison. It is 1984. I had just been expelled from Ongoye University for my activism, and I had come to Johannesburg for a meeting of the United Democratic Front. On the first day, I decided to find my way to Pretoria because two comrades I knew were at the Pretoria Central Prison. I found my way to from Johannesburg to Pretoria and was very excited when I finally arrived on the street just opposite the prison. I was standing at the robots, waiting for them to change so I could take my final steps, walk into the prison, and see my comrades. I was not prepared for what happened next. A white man who looked like he could be my peer, age-wise, stepped right in front of me as I was wondering, why are you facing me and not the direction that you need to go to? And then I watched him step even closer to me with an expression of determination on his face. Before I could do or say anything, he uttered these words, "You kafir," and then spat on my face, and then turned and walked away. And there I was, in broad daylight, standing, waiting for the robots to turn green while I faced the Pretoria Central Prison with a face that was dripping with a white man's frothy saliva. I can still see myself clearly as I speak. I was there, standing in utter shock, taking in the fact that while I was standing facing the Pretoria Central Prison, my face was dripping with frothy saliva of a white man in 1984. Thank you for listening.